Congratulations, everybody. Mark Williams over here. Guillaume, we talked. We did an interview for the credits after you were shortlisted, and at that time you talked a lot about, besides all the artists you thanked during your acceptance speech, the additional contributions of both Roger Deakins, who joins you in the Winter Circle tonight, and Dennis, who for production design, who could not. So could you maybe expound on that here about their contributions to what your work that you did, in, as you told me at the time, stitching all this together?
Sure. Well, making a one-shot movie like this requires the collaboration of all the departments. And we know we always collaborate on movies, but this time around we had to collaborate very precisely because obviously we are, with visual effects, connecting all the shots together and stitching the whole movie to make it appear as if it's one long shot. But it only works if everybody is very diligent in doing the best they can ahead of time. So the production designer, for example, Dennis had to build the sets to the exact length of every single scene, because if the sets were too short or too long, then we couldn't go into the next one. So, and then with Roger, it's the same. Obviously, is the master of lighting and camera moves, and in our exercise to stitch the whole movie together, you have to make sure that you never betray his creative intent of having the camera as being not a third character, but as just observing our two young heroes through their journey. So it's really making sure that the audience can never identify whether it's things have been done practically, have been done in visual effects, so you're kind of completely immersed into the experience.
And number 97, followed by number 8.
Julia Pierpont, Xinhua News, right down in front.
Oh, hi.
Could you talk a little bit about, I'm assuming that none of you served in a war, so I'm curious, what kind of research process did you do to really understand what that look and feel would be? And talk a little bit about your process working with Roger on that, and what you, also with the director.
Do you want to talk about this?
Sure. A lot of the hard work of the historical accuracy had come before with the historical advisor, the art department. The few times we had to deal with anything is when we introduced something new. For example, we brought in it was a Mark II World War I tank, and so we quickly had to look up sort of what is the unique differences of those things, because we didn't want to be the one department caught out in putting something historically inaccurate in. And luckily, there was a museum that had the last one of the world that still was in one piece. So we took photos and scanned. And then Sam ended up picking a photo, his favorite photo of a World War I tank in a particularly destroyed state. So the short version is a lot of the historical research came before us, but we just needed to make sure we didn't make a false move when we put a tank in the movie.
I mean, for myself, on the practical side of it, it was very important that we kept true to 1917. And we didn't want to go over the top, which is very kind of film-like that we do when we make blockbusters. I mean, you blow up a car and it's a great big explosion. Sam was very much keeping it true to what it was going to be. So we did lots of tests. We saw lots of footage of explosions and stuff like that. And then ultimately Sam had the final say. So we did do a lot of research.
And now we have number 8, followed by 292.
A massive congratulations. My name is Thomas Puskaler from the Slovak Republic for Television Joj. I'm a massive fan of visual effects. My question for this movie is, was there a special process that you used that was unique to the film, something that hasn't been used before, technology-wise?
Yeah, I think it's visual effects. I've been working for 20 years in visual effects, and over 20 years, you learn the tricks to work in a cut, right? Because our job is to suspend disbelief, is to make sure that the audience thinks that what they see is real, right? And you learn all your tricks, and you make shots that are 4 seconds, 10 seconds, 20 seconds if you're like extremely ambitious. I've done shots that were 1 minute long, in other movies, but they're really rare. And in the case of 1917, it just never stops, right? There's no cuts, right? So you have to really rethink your bag of tricks, and you have to rethink how you kind of design your work and how you approach it. and how to make sure that the audience never feels like they're watching something that feels digital, right? Especially on a movie like this that is not a visual effects movie. It's a movie where if the audience feels that they're watching visual effects, you're breaking the film, right? So, doing that and all the stitching, I wish that we could have written a software that would have made all the stitching for us. Unfortunately, it was not possible. It was literally every single transition in a movie is like handcrafted by a team of artists. And some transitions, the one in No Man's Land, it's like, took like 2.5 months to get like 4 seconds of movie right, because it's all about the movements, all about the camera, the lighting. So it's really not a movie about, I would say the technology, but I think it's a movie that I see as being the realization that, you can truly rely on craftsmen and artists to realize something that is new.
Thank you.
And
I mean, one of the things that we did that I don't think has been done in a film before is the flares that you see when George is in Acoust, and he starts. You start off with the gunfire, and we go to darkness. So as he goes up the stairs, he goes into the room. You see both soldiers fire at one another. Then it goes black, and then that whole sequence started with a magnesium flare that we had on winches. And we had to sync them with the movement of the camera, and they had to last 18 seconds. And the set was specially designed so that when you see that reveal, I don't know if you remember, you come up the stairs, you come into the room, you go through the window, and all of that was while the flare was traveling above. And the set was designed so that the shadow moved across the floor. And something like that, I don't think it's ever been done before in a film, and I think it came across really well.
And last question, 292.
Carolyn Jardina from The Hollywood Reporter. Hi, congratulations. This year, there's been so much talk about visual effects and where it's continuing to advance from de-aging to virtual production. We've been still talking a lot about invisible effects like what you did. We've been talking about practical effects. Where do you see your craft going in the next 2 years, let's say?
I think it's really about being able to tell new stories. I don't think it's about necessarily a specific technology. You can make, I really do think that you can pretty much make anything if you, put a lot of talented people at it. I think it really is about the opportunity and the ability to tell stories like they haven't been done before, and all the nominees this year are doing that somehow, all in their very own different way. So I don't think it's going to go in a very specific direction. I don't think that all the movies are going to have invisible effects or are going to be virtual production or will have de-aged actors. But I think that the tool set is more accessible than ever for people and directors and producers to really be bold with their storytelling.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's about keeping it real. I think that's the trick. It's so easy for these guys to be able to do almost anything, but to trick the audience is what it's all about. It's about smoke and mirrors, and it's about how good we get at smoke and mirrors.
I just would say that I hope that now that visual effects has kind of tried everything at least once or twice, directors will focus more on doing it right. Did somebody just... We don't know who's winning anything right now.